All right. We are recording. This is Aliza, Soleira, and Francesca, and we are having a conversation today about the new woman rising. And Soleira's going to kick us off just with just kick us off, Soleira. Let's just dive in.
Well, I've really noticed there's something different about so many women that I know. And, I said just before we started this, there's new men rising, there's new children rising, there's a new us rising, there's a new humanity rising. Yes, it's not just about women, but I am particularly fascinated with it because I was born in 1950. So I was born in a time where, as a teen in the 60s, I wanted to be a guy. I mean, it was like, that seemed like the better option to me at the time. And even in my early adult life through the 70s and 80s, when I was working in corporation, it was more you wore pantsuits, you tried to adapt to the culture, you tried to be more male-ish in all of that. And suddenly here I am now at this stage of life, and I am loving being a woman. Like, absolutely love it. I just don't think there's anything else I would rather be than a woman. And I think that a part of that for me is the collaboration, the creativity, the unleashing of genius, the boldness, the colorfulness, just the way the women tend to operate is so wonderful. And I think we've kind of come out of a shell of a long-term cultural thing and emerged as this kind of potent force in the world. And that to me is the new woman rising. That's how I would talk about it, it's kind of like that. So that's my intro to it. I'll turn it over to you, gals.
And I love that so much. And of course, my whole thing is new humanity, which is the birthing of a whole new way of being, really a whole new consciousness on the planet.
Yeah.
And it's fueled by women. It's absolutely not exclusive. It's absolutely men and children and everybody on the planet. But the women part of it, it's as if for me, well, my history, I came early in my adulthood. I became a minister, not that early, but at late 30s. But I became a minister, but then right on the heels of that, I got involved in the priestess process work. So I was developing my own awareness of my divine feminine pretty early on. I would say pretty early on. But even then, in the right around 2000, even then the divine feminine was not the polarization that we were seeing in the 60s and 70s, right? Where it was like women over men. It was like, no, women. But what's happened for me in my awareness in the last few years is that as women become more and more self-sovereign in our becomingness, then we can actually witness the men more as equal partners, rather than either a savior or a pain in the butt or the whole the whole thing that we've experienced. So that new woman rising, I think, becomes the fuel even for other people to rise.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
It's very interesting listening to you both, because my background is really different. I was never in the corporate world, so I never had that sense of being below the glass ceiling or anything like that. And when the whole Me Too thing was happening, it's like, so I didn't really have that. Not like a lot of women did. But I also didn't get involved in any of the activism of women either. I didn't. So many of the women that I know, particularly in the Silver Tent, have done, like, feminine leadership training and all of that kind of thing. I never did any of that too. I kind of came to the party late, I think, with the Silver Tent. There was only then that I started, just over 8 years ago, getting this sense of focusing more on women and the feminine, and getting this intuitive sense that it's about the resurrection of the feminine. And so I've been watching that and experiencing that over the last 8 years. Before that, I was kind of oblivious. And what I want to add to what you've just said is actually where I'm seeing a difference from my perspective is in the men that I'm meeting.
Yes, me too.
I'm meeting men that are the equals, like you were saying, that sense of equality, that men that do listen to women, that want to be, I don't know, equal, I guess, that see us differently, and it's really changed my perspective on men. I've been quite disillusioned, shall we say, until about actually maybe only a couple of years ago, when I started to just meet the most lovely men.
Yes, me too. Yeah.
I have a thought about that, and I've been practicing this for the last maybe couple of years when I came into a whole body of work about being the Queen's Code based on Alison Armstrong, who is very popular here in the whole feminine masculine relationship piece. It's really different than what Jeanette does in that Inner Beloved, but what I've noticed is when I am in my self-sovereign, in my source, in my presence, then men are different.
Yes.
And I can shift out, and I do. My relationship here is, everybody knows, and I hate to say it publicly on camera, but it goes wobbly sometimes. And when it goes wobbly, what I've started to do is look at me, and every single time I can make a little shift, boom, and he shows up. It's so fascinating, that relational piece.
Yeah. There is something as well for me about the collaboration and co-creation of women together.
Yeah.
And that can include men. So, I host the Murmuration of Maestros group, where we're doing big consciousness and reality innovation work for the world to thrive, all life to thrive and connect in new ways and evolve. And when I watch us come together, especially as women, there's something really beautiful in it. Like we just seem to like get along easily. We really witness one another. We share and are generous and kind and supportive and nurturing and empowering and all of that. And especially what I see coming in what I'm calling the new woman is a kind of life power and a kind of collective connectivity that is not forced inclusion and diversity, but inclusive uniqueness. The celebration of inclusive uniqueness seems to be there. And I think what you're pointing to in your relationship is that we're learning to be sources of reality. And we're up for making the world a brighter and better place together. And I think there was a time when I go back to like the 1990s, when I was not who I am today by any means. And I was desperately looking for female role models that I could get some sense of what it was I wanted to become. Now that was me in my like late 40s. Still not quite understanding who and what I was even then. But now there's just, for me now, it's trying to figure out who I am has become slightly irrelevant to me. I'm much more about doing things to make life better for the world. And that brightens me and it elevates me and it takes me to a different place of who I be in the world. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
That makes complete sense to me. There's such a resonance there. And I'm getting ready to lead a women's retreat in just a couple of days. And it is about, the title is Find Your Own Eureka in Eureka Springs, Arkansas.
Yay.
So it's kind of a play on that, but that's where I've been going, because it's not anymore for me either. It's not who am I so much, but what do I bring to the world? It's somehow, however you said that, it was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That has such a resonance in it. So
yeah.
Thank you for saying it like you did. I'll have to go listen to the recording.
I can't even remember now what I said. But that's one of the things about us too. We're more spontaneously present in the moment now.
Right. Very much. Me too. Very, very much. And when I'm not, that's when things go wobbly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Francesca, do you see that in the tent, the silver tent as well?
I love that sense of collaboration. I can't help but think of how women were kind of designed through nature to be collaborative. And then we had all that stuff about, you know, being strong like men and emulating the masculine, and that's just so not the way that we were brought to this planet in these bodies to be lying. And to see that happening again, and I see that happening, obviously the silver tent is for women over 50, so those are the women that I spend most of my time with. But to see that desire lessen to have to be at the top all the time, or to go it alone, and to realize that actually we don't have to be alone anymore. We don't have to be that strong, independent woman. We can have that, not like letting go of that, but we can have that as part of a community, part of a group. And that feels completely different, doesn't it? To be able to be vulnerable and strong and interdependent, if that's the right word. And I love seeing that blossom, and I love seeing that blossom in me too.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I don't think it's an age thing. I don't think it's because we're over a certain age, therefore we've matured, therefore we experience ourselves differently. I see it in younger women and in young kids too. You know, it's something essentially is rising in us that is, I think you used the word sovereign for it. It's a good word for it. But it's also a celebration of connectivity and uniqueness, a respect, a true come from place that respects the differences of us, not having to be forced upon us, you know, kind of thing. So even though in the world, from the news perspective, one might not think that's necessarily happening, but I think it is happening. I think it's something that's embedding in us, and not just for other people, but also for animals and oceans and nature and, you know, all of that kind of thing.
I really think that's a part of the evolution of what we're in. And I know for me, I've always been really the lone wolf, and in part because I didn't ever feel like anybody got me. Like, so it was easier to just go off and do my own thing, right? Even in my career, it becomes very, in the career that I've been in, it becomes very isolating in a sense. You're serving a community, but the colleague level, you know, we're all over the country anyway. But it's been in me the last few years, this I almost feel like I can't do it alone anymore, not because I can't, but because I no longer choose to. And so that collaborative, that these moments like this, the three of us just sharing those ideas are so enriching. And the more different we are, the almost the richer the conversation. So it's not only honoring and respecting, it's celebrating that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So my thought is, if we were going to say to someone, how does one come to this place if they don't already feel that? You know, maybe we could just give a kind of few pointers. I would say, like, love yourself and love what's different about you. Most people are trying to fit in or be the same or feel bad that they are so different, you know, but to love and celebrate the difference, I think, is one of the key things to this whole piece.
Oh, I completely agree with you, Soleira. And I remember when I started the Silver Tent, I had got this quote that just came through, which is that we are each a unique stitch in the cardigan of life.
Mm.
And when you think of that, like I'm not a knitter, but I loved knitting when I was little. And you know, if you take one stitch out, the whole thing unravels, doesn't it? So
Right.
I love that sense, and it's all one ball of wool.
Yeah.
You know, we're all one, but we're all a part of that.
Yeah.
And I just love that sense that we can't pull the whole cardigan of life together unless each one of us recognizes our uniqueness and our part in that part that we play, each part is
Yes.
invaluable and vital, isn't it?
Yeah.
When we see it like that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just really love the simplicity of that imagery, and it fits really well with recognizing our uniqueness and our connectivity. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And for me, I'll often use the idea of a mosaic, like each of us is a stone or a color or a shape in a mosaic. So very similar to the stitch in the fabric. And I think, just to add, if there's anything to add to that, find some women. All three of us have groups, right? Soleira has the Murmuration of Maestros, and Francesca has the Silver Tent and the Silver Synergy, and I got the New Humanity. But find the women that you can be yourself with. Once you love yourself, you have to also be in a field, or you create the field, or you step in where you are really seen. And I think that's part of the power of those circles also, is that the more that we're seen, the more we come alive, and the more that we see others, the more we come alive. It's this almost combustible feeling.
Yeah.
You can get a group and nobody sees anybody, and everybody's kind of hiding because we still have our women stuff, and I don't know you and whatever. I'm thinking of the retreat coming up, right? And it's like, but in that seeing and being seen, there is almost the freedom unleashed to
Yes.
love ourselves more, to be more of who we are.
Yeah. Can I just say as well that as you were talking, I was thinking, one of the things that we've existed in since I was born, way that long time ago, is a paradigm of reality which is hierarchical and striving for success, striving to get to the top, no matter what, at any cost to anybody else. That's been the predominant model by which governments run and business runs, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think what I'm seeing with this new woman rising is that we operate in a different paradigm of reality, completely different. It's not that we don't strive for things and go for great visions or abundance or whatever, but we do it in a completely different model. We do it collaboratively, innovatively, excitedly, joyfully. If it's not giving you joy, you don't do it. And if it's inclusive in a way that is exciting, but to me, you search for the greatness in every single piece and every single person. And when you do that, something emerges that's way past that hierarchical collaborative paradigm of one person on the top. One person wins the game kind of thing, No, this is everybody wins the game, And I think
Goes from
that's
that
really exciting.
It
Yeah.
goes from that triangle to overlapping circles.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very exciting. Yeah.
It's very,
Yeah.
that whole sense of being everybody's champion, of being a champion and creating that space where ideas are allowed and ideas are cherished, and that we raise each other up to be the best that we can be. And I know that ultimately we have to see it in ourselves. It's never going to happen just because other people see our work.
Yeah.
We have to find that within ourselves too. But it helps, doesn't it, to have like a myriad of mirrors.
Yeah.
Come on, you're amazing, you're wonderful, and you've got something unique and worth sharing with others. You know,
I
there's
love,
that beautiful weaving together.
yeah.
Mhm.
I love the word champion. I think that should replace the word leader completely.
Yes.
Because leader is singular, champion is more everybody, you know? I love it. That's a great word.
I
Yeah.
keep thinking of the Dalai Lama statement that says the world will be saved by the Western woman. I would say by the awakened woman,
Hmm.
right? By the woman coming into her own sense of being, because then we do become champions and we do become collaborators, and people also rise up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Exciting.
Yay.
Many little ideas, you know, that I think that in the past, as women have felt more held down, that they might, that, and I know that this is true for me in the past, certainly, that those little ideas that appear too simple, you know, it's like, well, that can't have any value. But once you create that space for people to share, actually, it's often the simplest ideas that are the most powerful.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Exciting. So I guess
Mhm.
what would we say to kind of wrap it up, which is celebrate your unique, for me, celebrate your uniqueness and be full on womanhood, you know, and enjoy that camaraderie that it brings, that excitement and joy and creativity that it brings.
But like you, Soleira, for a while I thought being a boy would be infinitely better than being a girl. And I love that sense that we can finally, if it's finally, or maybe way back,
Yeah.
really own that aspect of our femininity. That
Yeah.
actually, it's incredibly powerful. And then to, you know, I've been seeing it like, you know, when I started the Silver Tent, it was all about the feminine, the feminine, the feminine. And I realized it's just about bringing it back up to balance with the masculine, isn't it? It's not about overtaking it and being dominant, but
Yeah.
actually just about bringing that in the two energies into balance, and we can find it within ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think what I would add to that is find the things that light your heart up and do more of that, whether it's play or dance, dancing in the living room by yourself, or being in nature, whatever it is, because the more that we are in that energy of being filled and in fun, the more that we will come to love ourselves. And then the more that we will become even more of our biggest, boldest, most brilliant becomingness, to throw one of my phrases in there.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are wishing you great times with these wonderful women this weekend at the Eureka retreat. May they glow completely into their fullness of who they are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. And thank you both for this conversation. I think we can put in the links each of our groups.
Yeah.
And a little bit about ourselves, because we didn't really introduce ourselves at all. But I feel like this has been really rich, and I appreciate you both in my life and on this call. And I'm just so grateful to be surrounded by women like you all.
Same
That's
here.
what we need, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our champions.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okie doke. Thanks.
All right.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much.
All right. Bye.